It's a place that has occupied the hearts and minds of people here for 500 generations.
We're sitting on top of this wonderful opportunity ecologically.
This is really a world-class river. There aren't a lot of these around.
In the year 1673, guided by a band of Native Americans, French missionary Jacques Marquette navigated the Illinois River. In his journals, he described it like this: "We have seen nothing like the river we entered, as regards its fertility of soil, its prairies and woods, the bison, elk, deer, the wild geese, the ducks. It is made up of little lakes and little rivers. That on which we sail is broad, deep, and gentle." From the confluence of the Kankakee and Des Plaines rivers near the town of Joliet, the Illinois meanders southwest to the Mississippi, a course of more than 270 miles. It's what's known as a large floodplain river, meaning it broadens and shrinks with the pulse of the rains, expanding across wide, flat lands alongside it, sustaining lakes and marshes, and nourishing some of the most productive soils in the world. 89 large floodplain rivers exist around the globe, including the Amazon, the Nile, the Mississippi, and of course the Illinois. They rank among the planet's most bountiful sources of life, Earth's last great places. Near the town of Havana, where it joins the Spoon River, the Illinois bends and the floodplain widens. Historically, this stretch of the Illinois harbored an abundance of life. It's known as emiquon.
At one time, it was a wonderful marsh, about 6,000 acres, consisting of two lakes, Flag Lake and Thompson Lake, surrounded by a marsh vegetation of river bulrush, which is called flag locally.
Some of the natural habitats that occurred here, Thompson and Flag Lakes being the most prominent, were extremely important for fisheries in terms of nursery and spawning habitat and wintering habitat, places that were very important for waterfowl and shorebirds and other wildlife that migrates up through the Illinois River Valley.
White pelicans, once a rare sight, now frequent the Illinois River during spring and fall migrations. Bald eagles perching in the tall trees can find plenty of fish and spend most of the winter at emiquon. A large floodplain river has many distinct parts, each adding to the system's extraordinary richness. So many ducks, whether they dabble in marshes or dive in ponds, find food in abundance.
If you look at the majesty of this valley and the bluffs, to see swans and geese and ducks by the literally hundreds of thousands flying around here, it'll be breathtaking.
18 species of ducks pass through emiquon every spring and fall. Meanwhile, aquatic biologists have documented more than 100 species of fish, including some ancient creatures. Paddlefish, sturgeon, and gar have been trolling the Illinois and feeding in its wetlands since the age of the dinosaur. The bounty of this great river and the surrounding lands has also sustained humans for nearly 12,000 years, an estimated 500 generations of people.
The early American cultures, the Native Americans, evolved to take advantage of the productivity of these backwaters. They used them for food, they harvested the mussels and used the shells for tools.
The natural beauty and natural productivity of this area brought people here. And today we find ourselves wrestling with many issues that people must have struggled with for all of those generations. What is the right balance in terms of how we live on the land and what we take from it?
In 1908, emiquon ranked as one of the most productive fisheries in the United States. 24 million pounds of commercial fish were harvested from the Illinois, and fully half of this was taken from the emiquon area. Recreational fishing also added greatly to the local economies. But human engineering radically altered the ecological balance of the river, and nearly half of its floodplain was transformed. In 1919, the dredges first came to emiquon, and by 1923, 2 lakes and a complex of wetlands, prairie, and forest had become as they are today, farm fields. A levee isolated the backwater areas from the river, and an extensive system of pipes, known as tiles, were laid to drain water from the fields and allow conventional crops like corn and soybean to grow.
When I came to Havana in 1938, I heard the residents, bemoan the loss of Thompson and Flag Lake from drainage, and what a great area it once was, and how many people made a living off of the fishing, hunting, and trapping that occurred there.
And since that time, it has been in the business of exporting agriculture dollars out of this area.
Beyond losing a haven for wildlife, there have been other consequences. Backwater lakes, marshes, and streamside forests serve to filter and clean a river's water and reduce the severity of floods.
Backwater areas and wetlands function as big sponges of sorts, so that as the river comes up in flood stage and as waters come off of the bluffs during a storm, the backwater areas act as sponges and absorb that water. Then during low flow periods, like in July and August when the river gets very low, those sponges would lose some of that water to the river.
These functions were lost at emiquon. Now the water is dirtier, the river has fewer fish, and where nature and the river cannot cooperate, the floods can be cataclysmic.
Well, U.S. taxpayers spent $10 billion cleaning up after the floods in 1993 on the Mississippi and Illinois rivers. And in 1995, along the Illinois River, water levels were even higher. We've learned over the years that we have perhaps overdeveloped many of our large rivers, and we have levied off 50% of the Illinois River, and many rivers have had even more.
Working with partners throughout the state and with river experts from around the country, the Nature Conservancy has launched an effort to restore the natural functions of the Illinois River and bring it back to health. South of emiquon in Brown County lies a Nature Conservancy preserve known as Spunky Bottoms. Up until December 1998, it too produced farm crops. But by reducing the amount of water pumped off the fields, Conservancy scientists enabled the river to reassert its influence. They also replanted native trees and prairie grasses. With an 80-year-old seed bank cached in the soil, the wetlands and other natural vegetation rebounded within a year.
Yeah, this did particularly well over the last year or two. I planted prairies and other soils, sandy soils, and it takes them 4 or 5 years before you see anything. So it's a floodplain soil, so you get we get all the best soils from all over the state of Illinois come through the Illinois River.
The return of these wetlands has also affected the wildlife. According to local hunters, both the number and variety of ducks visiting Spunky have surged. The next step will be to reestablish the connection between the river and the wetlands. Working with the Army Corps of Engineers, Conservancy scientists will restore access for aquatic creatures that relied on these areas as nurseries, spawning and feeding grounds, or winter refuge. Conservancy scientists will now apply the lessons learned at Spunky to a much larger effort, the restoration of emiquon. That became possible in the spring of 2000 when the Nature Conservancy bought the 7,600 acres of farmland that lie at emiquon's heart. This bluff and virtually everything that could be seen from it. Here where once existed 2 lakes, these fields of corn and soybean now represent a major opportunity for river conservation.
emiquon provides us an opportunity to demonstrate restoration of a floodplain at a much larger scale than has ever been done before. emiquon is an opportunity to demonstrate how we can begin to put some of those places back to nature and back to a more sustainable use. Ultimately, we have to figure out how to live along big rivers like the Illinois River that flood naturally.
And if we can show that this works, if we show that we can engage our partners and we can work with the public to recreate habitat here and restore habitat, be successful at that, then there's a good chance we can do that elsewhere. And it's by restoring a lot of these areas that we're going to restore not only the habitat and the animals that live here, but we're going to have a real impact on the Illinois River ecosystem.
There's so many reasons to bring a natural resource like this back to its natural state. I think it's hard to put a price tag on something like that. It's a rare piece of property that will add to the quality of life of the entire region. The hunting, fishing, recreational potential, the habitat for wildlife, fish, will just be enormous.
We're going to have the opportunity to demonstrate to other communities just how they can take advantage of the environment around them, and that preserving the environment and enhancing it is advantageous. It is definitely an economic project.
Across the United States, rivers are showing the strains of intensive human use. Many rivers have permanently lost the clean water and diversity of life that made them healthy. According to the National Research Council, only 3 large floodplain rivers in the United States are considered recoverable. The Illinois is one. Starting at Emiquon, then, the Illinois offers a rare opportunity and great hope. With the support of the communities along its banks, we can save one of our great rivers and one of Earth's last great places, restoring it to the healthy, bountiful state that generations of people once knew.
This is our history, this is our culture, and returning this to its natural state is part of that. It's important to people in Central Illinois.
It'd be the greatest thrill, and I hope I can live that long to see it reestablish itself. There will be no other marsh like this in the Midwest.
It gives us a chance to reclaim part of our history and part of our heritage. It gives us a chance to gain a foothold on the decline of one of the nation's most important rivers, the Illinois River. Emiquon is a place of hope and recovery.